Welcome to an enlightened hour of interactive talk. This is Guided Spirit Conversations with host Marla Goldberrg. In this program, we spotlight guests from all over the globe who have helped others change their lives and will provide you with the tips, tools, and techniques that you need to help you make a difference in your own life. Now, here is Marla Goldberrg.
Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining Guided Spirit Conversations. I'm Marla Goldberrg, your host, and I am so happy about our guest today. So Lisa Salvatore is an intuitive. She's an intuitive guide, wellness coach, and Reiki energy healer whose specialties are personal astrology, tarot, and spirit connection. Lisa offers divine guidance in a grounded way as she helps to bring the unconscious to the conscious, providing awareness and healing. Welcome, Lisa.
Hi, Marla. Thank you for having me.
I'm so happy you're here. I know that we've been working on this for a little bit, so yay. We finally
got it.
We have it. So, Lisa, I love starting at the beginning because I'm a late bloomer. I tell people all the time, it's in my book, I started my path pretty late. When did you become aware of yours?
Honestly, since I was a very little girl, I always felt energy on a very deep level. And at the time, I didn't know the term for empath, but I grew to realize that I was a very strong empath, and I would feel energy and vibrations, and I just knew I was tapped into something different. I didn't have the thoughts of an average 5-year-old. I was always thinking deeper, looking into things. And
that's so cool. How did your parents react to that and your family members?
I'm one of 5 children, and I'm the 4th one in the lineup, and we're all very close in age. So it was always kind of chaotic in our house. There was a lot going on, and I was very, very quiet and introverted as a child. And I loved to read. That was my thing. And I had imaginary friends, of course, right?
That's what was my next question.
Right, exactly. So, they've always been supportive because, to be honest, everybody has psychic abilities, but on my mother's side of the family, they run very strongly. So they kind of knew that I had a little something when I was a child.
Something.
So they never made me feel awkward about it.
How
which
lovely.
was kind of cool. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, it's always nice to when they get it and you get support from a child, because then you can build it and there's no squashing it. It's not based on social protocol, where it's like, oh, you don't have an invisible, that's your image, and then you just shut it down and shut it off.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
So did you keep, did it keep growing throughout your adolescence, teen years? And
it did. And I did definitely squash it down because sometimes it felt uncomfortable and you think that there's something wrong with you because no one else, you're feeling all this but nobody else seems to be feeling the same way. And then you get this message that you're weird. So weird's a good thing. I'd rather be weird than normal, right?
Today, right?
Yeah. And you stuff it away. And so I did that. And believe it or not, what got me really more confident about it was getting into astrology at a young age, because when I started to dive into that, I learned my own birth chart. And I recognized through there that I had many lifetimes, as most of us do. And it just clicks and it makes a lot of sense. So,
well, and then you feel more normal, right? It's like, oh, this isn't strange. It's normal, but we all want to fit in. And, the reality of it is I've always listened to the sound of a different drummer than most.
Yes.
But I didn't realize what the drummer was. And you've worked so hard to fit in and to be mainstream. That anything that you have, I just lived in my head.
Yeah. It's easier there sometimes, right?
Sometimes, yeah. But you know what? If I would have listened to the guidance, the taps on my shoulder, my life might have been a little bit simpler than it was.
Yeah. But I feel that it's oftentimes those challenges are what make us even stronger and bring our abilities even stronger to the surface, right?
We can be more empathetic towards what other people are going through because we're going through it. We've gone through it.
Right.
I mean, I've gone through so much. I can relate to what so many of my clients talk about and do because I've been through it, and I'm sure you feel the same way.
I always have this running joke with some of the other practitioners that we work together and we talk every now and then, and we'll say, it's like every time you overcome some sort of a hurdle, the universe sends you 5, 6, 7 clients that have the same needs at that time, and you're that much better equipped to help them.
Absolutely. I look at everything now as a stepping stone to growth. So for me personally, it's, if something's going on, it's like, okay, what am I supposed to learn from this? What am I supposed to get? What direction? Because it's just second nature to say, okay, it's a gift, opportunity, lesson, combination. What is it? Where are we going with this? And why am I learning it?
Yep.
And at a certain point, you think you're not going to go through this anymore. And then it's like, surprise.
Yes. It's the gift that keeps on giving.
I say that all the time.
True.
So you have a lot of services that you offer your clients. How do you present that to them?
Cool. It's still something I'm trying to fine tune, but I've realized that the more I try to do that, the less better it works for me. So I am out of the box with my services. Astrology is astrology. So if somebody's coming to me for their chart, I can stick to the chart. We do get a lot of other things when we do a birth chart, but I know they're coming for that specific reason. And I can, the chart is the guide. It's the tool.
Yes.
Basic intuitive. What I do is I just, I connect like this, and it's frequency. So I tap into the frequency and we just have a dialogue for a few minutes. And as we do that, things open up, and then I just go from there. I allow questions. It is driven by spirit. So it's almost like I just never know what direction it's going to go, but it's always with the soul. I feel anyway, it's always what the soul needs at that particular point on their journey.
For the highest and best good. I mean,
exactly.
Right. And so it's funny, I was having a conversation with somebody and I said to them, they said something to me today about being told something negative. And I said, if you go to somebody for a service and they tell you something negative, I said, I would grab my hat and coat and I would run out the door, because I know my training is no, you don't scare people. You don't give people death dates or anything like that, because we have a number of opportunities to leave the planet.
Exit points. Yeah,
we do. And we have our expiration date, but that's just one out of what I don't know. I've heard 5, I've heard 7. What do you say?
I believe each soul has a different number of exit points, but I do find that most people have more than 2. So I'm a huge believer in fate, but I'm also a bigger believer in free will. So fate will take you to a point, and then it's what you do next that determines.
I love that. I think that's great. And you said something, I know I'm jumping, but you said something that I really liked and I highlighted. You cannot pour from an empty vessel, and self-care is a priority.
Yes.
Mind, body, and spirit.
I have learned that the hard way. Okay. Because I would tell myself, you don't have children. Why do you feel so run down? Why do you find the need to take a break? Like, I would be really hard on myself. And after time, I would just, a relatively healthy person, knock on wood, I would get sick for no reason. I would feel, and I knew it was energy sickness, honestly. Mm-hmm. And I would just running on that, running. And I realized that I'm not doing any service for anybody else if I get so sick that I have to cancel a week worth of clients. And now I have to reschedule all of that on top of the fact that they were counting on me and now I'm not there. And I just recognized the need that if I wasn't feeling well, there's no way I could deliver my best to others, right? So it's an ongoing project, because I do have a hard time taking breaks when I feel that I'm needed, especially when it's family.
Yes.
Right. And friends, but we have to, it's necessary, because you're not helping if you're not taking care of yourself, because then you hold resentment as well, because then you have no time. It's just this ongoing cycle. It's
so true. I so agree. And I learned that through my first marriage, because my well was never getting filled and I was giving. And this is right before I started down my spiritual path. And finally, it was just like, I didn't take enough care for me. I was too busy with everyone else. And it is so important for our highest and best good to have self-care. It's okay. Give yourself permission to take breaks. Yes. Take that bath. Do that meditation. Take that nature walk. Mm-hmm. If you have a few minutes on your schedule, take it for you. I'm learning to redo that today.
Every day, right? It's a constant reminder, because we feel that if we have 20 minutes of freedom, we have to do something to fill that freedom.
Exactly. And go ahead.
No, I was going to say, I've told clients, take 20 minutes and stare at the wall. Who cares? Just take that 20 minutes of just being in the moment. And you don't have to meditate. You don't have to do anything. Just sit there and let your soul guide you. But you need that time.
I so agree. And when you're busy, as you are, and people run these, even in COVID, what I find, there's so many people and they have to fill their time. So they have little home projects or big home projects, and they fill and they fill and they fill, and they just have to keep busy. And they don't, even if just sitting and journaling, just putting out thoughts, random thoughts, they don't even have to flow in any direction.
Right.
They can just be random, odd thoughts that you write down. Allowing that to happen is a gift you give yourself.
I find with that, Marla, especially with COVID, when COVID began.
Yes.
And this is, I'm guilty of this as well. So I'm not saying this against anybody, but we tend to run from ourselves a lot, right? Because we don't want to stop and face the music.
Yes.
And then literally everybody was forced to stop. And, I'm sure, marriages that were already on rocky ground began to fall apart. Some got better, lots of things that we're running from. We cannot run them anymore. And that's the ego versus the soul, right? We have to get more into the soul, become more soul driven. And that's what I feel like 2020, that's one of the gifts or blessings that I feel will come out of that. Right.
I agree. Yeah. And it's amazing how that works. And I used to be one of those. I always say, pre-journey rather than during the journey. Right. I was one of those people that constantly filled and filled and filled, and my plate runneth over at all times.
Yep.
And it was just a way so I didn't have to face the things I really needed to face.
Right.
And so how do you help clients face the things that they really need to face?
Well, I'm a big believer in not telling them what they should do, or what I like to get it out of them. So it's almost like I'll read the energy, I'll tap into it, I'll feel what's going on, and I'll already know, but I want to hear them say it. I want to get them to the place where they're comfortable enough to say, oh, that's why I'm doing that. I like them to be able to, because it carries more weight. If someone's handing you on a silver platter what you need to do, or that's very easy, right? Mm. But it's really about going deep within and figuring that out for ourselves, right? That's the beauty.
It is the beauty. It's like that dinner analogy, or if your father takes you to fish, you have a meal for a lifetime. But if somebody gives you a fish, at a restaurant, you have a meal.
Right. That's a good analogy. I like that.
Thank you. I did not make it up. I've heard that one for years, but it reminded me of, that's what came to me when you were talking about that. But what if you can't get someone to say it? Like, it's right there, and they're just, because they don't want to face it. They just don't want to say it. Do you allow them to just let it go? Or do you find some way of redirecting them?
I think it's a little bit of both, and it depends on the person. A lot of time I'm channeling, so I kind of go into that zone or space and I won't even recognize what's happening. So that's kind of hard. It's different with each session. But I mean, listen, first of all, most times people know why they're there. They know what the underlying, it's very rare you get somebody come to you saying, everything's great, just tell me what you feel, and except if it's astrology, they want to look at their transits, and that's different. But for a typical reading, it's more like something's there and they know it. They feel a lack, or they need clarity, or they're feeling, they want validation. That's it. It's validation. As humans, that's what we want. We want validation. I cannot validate somebody's, how do I say this the right way? I can't tell them what to do, but I can simply validate what they feel. So I can give them the scenario that I'm picking up on, and that can then show them, oh, wow, yeah, I'm feeling this accurately. And that's the point. It's not for me to say it. It's for me to bring it out for them to see it.
I like to say, I'm not trying to shit all over you.
Yes. My famous line is, I'm not ever going to attach myself to your karma, so I will never tell you what to do. I will just tell you the pathways, or what I see and what I feel. And then you take that, not as gospel, but as a guide.
Right. Well, what I learned very young, and tell me if you agree with this or not, when you're doing a reading for someone other than astrology, because astrology is very scientific.
Yes.
I mean, you have your longitudes, you have your latitudes, everything is right there.
Right.
But when you're having intuitive guidance or reading, there's some people who just take every word you say and live it as gospel.
Yes.
To me, that's like trying to grab running water.
Yeah.
Whereas if you just take what someone says, sort of, I don't know if you record or you give notes or let them
I
take
record.
notes.
Yeah.
And then you just sort of like put it in your little file cabinet, and maybe 6 months later come back and sort of like say, the check,
Yes.
check,
Yes.
no, yes, and go from there.
Exactly. That's how it should be. But oftentimes I feel that people are so desperate for an answer that they will hang on to everything that you say. And that's something that I teach, when I do also teach tarot, and I will tell students that come in, I'll say, always have to make sure you don't attach your own projections into somebody else's reading. Okay. That's one. And the other one is you always have to stress that you're not telling them what to do, because it's human nature. There are some people that will literally do what you said because their psychic told them to. And it's no, that's not the point.
That's a lot of ego. But I'm going to tell you what we're going to do right now. We're going to go on a break.
Okay.
We'll be right back for more conversation with Lisa Salvatore.
All clear. Just a moment while we save the first segment.
Thank you. All right. How are you good with this?
Yeah. Oh yeah. Great.
If there's anything that you want to talk about, feel free to segue in.
Okay.
I really like that quote. I was drawn to that almost immediately. It's like highlighter.
That's one of the lessons I've learned the hard way. So
Yeah.
I ended up really sick 2 years ago. It was January, and I kept going to the doctor, and I had a fever. And when you're in your late 30s and you're having fevers, you're just like, okay, something's going on.
Mm-hmm.
And I was sick for almost 2 months, and they couldn't find anything wrong with me. And then when I went to the functional doctor, like well over a year later, she said I had mono, and that made so much sense. But stress actually, and also I really feel because as empathic beings, we do take on a lot of energy, and we don't realize sometimes how important it is to clear your energy, right?
I put a invisible energetic shower on my doorways. So when I walk in, the intention is that as I walk through these doors, just clear any debris that's not mine. I don't want to bring in anything that doesn't belong to me.
Yep.
Keep
All
it
right.
outside. Okay, you ready?
Sorry to
Ann?
interrupt. We are all set for the second segment if you're all set.
Great. Thank you.
Great. And if you're all set, I can count you in now.
Perfect.
Great. In 5, 4, 3, 2.
Hi there. Welcome back. Thank you for staying around with myself and Lisa Salvatore. If you're just joining us, let me tell you about Lisa. Lisa's a quite gifted intuitive guide, wellness coach, astrologer, and Reiki energy healer. And she is talking to us about tarot, spiritual connection, astrology, and belief systems, and working with clients and how she works with her clients. So welcome back, Lisa.
Hi, Marla.
Hello. So we were just having such a great conversation just about working with clients and not wanting to, I call it shooting all over them, or telling them what to do, but suggesting, because sometimes you really do need to give them suggestions to try and help them too. And this is more when you're giving counseling or coaching, whatever term you want to use on that. And you work with your clients that way as well, not just cyclically, but otherwise. So go ahead.
I was just going to say, I want everybody to leave me feeling a sense of positivity and optimism, even if something negative is present and that we've discussed or that they're experiencing in their reality. I want them to leave feeling hopeful, not hopeless.
One thing I tell my clients, and I don't know if you feel the same way, but the only thing you can count on is change, and everything is temporary. So if you're in one of those situations, if you just give it space and time, you will find that it will flow out and something else would flow in. And depending upon your vibration, will depend upon what comes in next. But if you raise your vibration, negative things can't hang on to positive vibration, high vibe. Do you agree with that? Disagree?
I do agree. And I actually that's a really good segue into something I want to discuss, the vibration. A lot of people will say, but what does that mean? Like a vibration, how do I have a vibration? And the vibration is just the frequency that you emit. Like there's people, when you go to a party, for example, you're instantly drawn to them because they have maybe a light around them, or you just feel good about them. You're connecting to their vibration. They have a higher vibration, or a vibration that you resonate with, or perhaps you see yourself wanting to get to that place, right? That vibration, that's a vibration. And you raise your vibration by being more authentic with yourself. That's the first thing, right?
Yes.
That's the first step. Obviously, I feel, and I know many will agree, that diet is a huge part of vibrational rising.
Frequency, yes.
Yes. So it is important that when things are really going hectic in your reality, check in with yourself and be honest, where can I raise my vibration? What am I doing that's contributing to the chaos, as opposed to alleviating some of it?
And my suggestion to add on to what you're saying is, if you're feeling stress, the worst thing you can do is drink more and eat more processed foods and eat more sugar.
Right.
Go the other way. And then the other thing I throw in is throw on music, sing and dance.
Yes.
Go ahead.
No, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I was going to say, I've never seen somebody feel bad after dancing and singing.
That's true. That's funny. I always recommend that when I do Reiki healing. If I am picking up on some energy interference within the sacral chakra, which typically happens often because that houses our creativity, and it's also our sexual chakra. So if I sense with someone that that's a little bit stifled, or there's something going on, I always suggest dancing. I'm like, just turn on music and dance, or hula hoop, do whatever you can to move the energy, because that's what it needs to do. The energy needs to move. And once it starts to move and flow, it frees up that space for everything to flow through in a more fluid manner.
And in a more joyful manner.
And more joyful, yes.
Because when your frequency is high, so is your joy.
Yeah.
You can't be depressed and have high frequency.
Correct.
You just can't do that. So let's talk a little bit about astrology and how you sort of like went into it.
Oh, this is a fun, I'll try to make this a shorter story than what it actually is. So I used to read, so back when I was 10, 11, 12, the internet wasn't even out yet, so I would read tons and tons of books. I always loved to read. I still do. And I always knew I was extremely sensitive because I felt that. And I'm a Taurus, I'll share that. So I know they say Taurus are sensitive, tough but sensitive and all of that stuff. But what I would read about Taurus just didn't make sense for me, because the level of sensitivity that I was experiencing was so profound that I couldn't even put it into words sometimes. It was very difficult. And so my mother would go food shopping once a week. And like I said, I'm one of 5 children. So there was always a very long food shopping trip, and she would alternate which child she would take with her. So when it was my turn, she would drop me off at the bookstore, which was connected to the supermarket in the same shopping center. And the girl that worked there knew me. So she would watch me. I would sit in the back and I would read, not exaggerating, 2 or 3 books. And these weren't just like little, I would read really quickly. And I'll never forget, I came upon Linda Goodman's Sun Sign book. Okay.
I had that book.
I think everybody who's interested in astrology has that book. So I started reading this book, and I stumbled upon the chapter. I read the chapter about moon signs, and it was saying how the moon is your soul and your emotion, and how it's typically in a very different sign than the sun sign. So you're emotionally your moon sign. And as I'm reading it, I'm like, I got to figure out my moon sign. So I'm 11 at this point. I figure out through using an ephemeris, which I'm not a very good mathematician, but I figured this out, that I was a Pisces moon. And everything clicked to me, because Pisces is one of the most empathic, spongy, compassionate, bleeding heart. I won't give you the negative side of it, but all of that is part of Pisces, and that's my moon sign. So it made so much sense that I was experiencing my emotions in this way. And so from there, I just had to dive in and just learn the whole chart. And I did. And it brought me into reading for others and my love of astrology.
And the three main are, you've got your sun, your moon, and your rising. So
Yeah.
the sun is your basic personality.
It's your life force. It's interesting because it's the center of you. It's who you truly are. But oftentimes we have to go through a lot of karma to actually shine that light, that solar light. So it's who we aspire to be in our highest form, but it takes trials and tribulations to get there.
And then we've got the moon sign, which is the emotional self. And then the rising. What is the rising?
So the rising sign, I would argue, as do a lot of astrologers, that when you're younger, like 30 years old and below, you tend to embody your rising sign more because at the time of your birth, on the eastern side of the sun, it's moving through the zodiac, okay? And it moves like every 2 minutes. So that's why an exact birth time is really important when you're doing a birth chart. Because so if you're a Scorpio, let's just say, and when you're born, it's Sagittarius rising. Somebody born 10 minutes later than you is not going to be a Sagittarius rising. And so the rising sign is what they call your mask, okay? It's your projected personality. It doesn't mean it's fake or phony by any means. It's just that that's how people perceive your energy. So I'll give you again, I'm going to use myself as the example simply because it's easier for me to explain it this way because I know myself for the most part, right? I'm a Taurus sun, but I'm a Gemini rising. So Geminis are very expressive. They're very communicative. They love to talk. They love to, read. They love to write. They're very extroverted. So if you don't know me, I probably come across Gemini, right? I would think. That's what I've been told anyway.
Well, you've come that way to me.
Right. But yet I'm very introverted. But when I was under 30, I was much more extroverted. Now I'm true Taurus. Like I like my cozy pajamas. I like my good food. I like to be on the couch. I like to read books. I'm more introverted. So it's flip-flop for me. But the Gemini is still very much a part of me. It's a part of my personality. But
That's so funny. I call that introverted extrovert.
Yes, exactly.
So that's so fascinating to see, those signs. My husband is on the cusp of Taurus and Gemini as his son. I don't know the rest, and he doesn't have a birth time. No, he does have a birth time. It was 11 something in the morning, early, like 11:02, but that's another story. But it was interesting because before me, he never was interested in any of these things.
Right.
And couldn't wrap his mind around anything that I do. And now so could you tap into this?
Right, exactly. Well, then you go even further with the chart, not to talk all about the chart, but
it's okay.
You think about Venus, you think about Mars, those are your love planets. So Venus is it's how you love and what you love. Mars is your drive and your life force and what you're attracted to and then what you tend to attract. So there's really like it gets very, very intricate. That's why
it's very intricate. And then you've got your squares and your trines and your south node and your north node.
Yeah.
And I just learned that the south node is karmic. You're karmic.
Yeah. Well, they're both, the north node is as well, but I think all of it's karmic, to be honest, right?
I have to think about that because if the stars are lining up, and they're doing the planet, let's say in 2020, where the karma comes in from. I don't know enough about astrology.
So you would have to look at your individual chart for that. You'd have to see your personal configuration to see what is your karma at this time, right? What are the north node's what you're going to move towards, the south node's what you're contracted to release, let's just say. But the south node's more comfortable because that's what we're used to.
Right, it's the devil you know.
So collectively right now, we're in the nodes of Sagittarius and Gemini. Gemini is our north node, Sagittarius is the south node. So south node's what we're leaving behind, and Sagittarius represents just a few things: long distance travel, okay, philosophy, it's higher learning, it's education, it's religion. All of that, we're being forced to kind of take a step back and release a lot of that. And we're moving towards the Gemini way, which is the north node, which isn't bad because Gemini is great as well. And it's more about short distance travel. That's what Gemini rules over. Connecting more to our neighbors and our siblings. And it's how we communicate, changing the way we communicate, right? Community. That's what we're moving towards. So it's really interesting when you do that, when you break it down that way.
That's fascinating. And when you break it down in small digestible pieces, because some people take the big words and that's what they use all the time. And then you're like, what does that mean again?
Right. Exactly. Well, I actually learned, which was interesting, astrology, it's kind of funny. So I had a mentor, Kevin, who he passed away sadly, but he used to always say to me, you're intuitively brilliant. And he would say, you're going to do these charts, but you're going to have to find your own niche. You're going to have to find your way of doing it. And I never understood what that meant until I got older and was, working with people, and I would see symbols when I was talking to them. I would see their astrology symbols, and I can read their signs through their expressions. And in my mind, as they're talking, I'm pegging it without seeing their chart. And then in time, I'd see the chart and I'm like, oh, I was right, So for me, it's more about reading the energy. I can look at a chart and a whole story unlocks before I even get to the technical side of it. So I realized I did need to learn the technical side. And then that's when I began all my studies, and it just all clicked. And because I love it and it fascinates me constantly. And there's always more to learn. You're never going to be, you're never going to know all there is to know. It's just not possible.
It's true. I've been doing this 20 years. I'm still taking classes. I'm still learning. I still love it. But when you're talking about that, I know a gal who, she holds her tarot cards, but she never drops them. She never puts out, she just holds them and gets all her information, and she's brilliant at it. So I find it's amazing when people are like that. You can see symbols, you can see what's going on. She can hold her cards, and yet information comes. And what I'd love for them to understand is that all of it is viable, because it's spirit guided, and it's not, there are some people who are charlamagnes. There are some people who just make up stuff and throw it against the wall.
Yes.
And they give the credibility a bad name. But there are very highly credible, very brilliant people. I mean, I know you and Sherry Jewell you work together and you do gallery readings.
Yes.
And let's talk about that in the few minutes before the next break.
Yeah, sure. I would love to. So much. Okay, so I don't even know where to begin with
What's
that.
a gallery reading?
Okay, so gallery reading is it's been via Zoom lately because of all these times that we're in, the crazy times. But we get people in a room, 12 to 15, depending on our energy levels. We usually try to stay under 15. And we connect them with spirits of their loved ones that have passed on to the other side. And it sounds a lot less, it's just beautiful. It really is. It's all for healing. That's what it is, to show you that life really does go on and that the soul is eternal.
And it is.
And it is. Yep.
Which is amazing. And so a lot of times people come because their child or a loved one committed suicide, and they need to know that they're okay, or they were fearful when they transitioned, and they need to know that they're okay. And that's what you do.
Yes.
Giving them that confirmation that your loved one is in a good place, is doing well on the other side, and even thriving.
Yes. Yes. And we can actually feel the way somebody passes. Like, that's how they come through to, at least for myself, I can speak to this. I will feel how somebody passed. I'll feel their last moments. I will feel what they felt. And they'll come through to me and give me their mannerisms so that person knows beyond a shadow of a doubt that it's them. Or one piece of information that seems so silly. I mean, I can tell you, I remember reading this woman one time, and she came to see me at the office, and I said to her, I'm really sorry. I'm trying to tap into you, but all I keep seeing is little squingilis right in front of my face. And I said, who is that? And she just busted out into laughter. And she said, my father called me Squingili. I'm like, okay, well, he's here. I said, this is his way of getting me to tell you that he's here. And then it just opened up the portal, and I had her father for a while. It was really cool. I love it when it happens like that.
Those are great stories. I just have goosebumps all over. We need to take a break. We'll be right back. Please stay tuned for more conversation with Lisa Salvatore.
All clear.
Thank you. I like that. This whole scrunching. I keep getting goosebumps as you're talking. I just keep getting rolls and rolls of goosebumps.
So sorry, but where's Dad?
My father on the other side.
Yeah, I knew that. When we were talking before, I was like, he's like right there, or right behind you, like right around you. Yeah, I felt him strong. Whew. Did he have chest lung?
He had kidney. My mother had lung. And now he might have. He was a smoker.
Was he filling up? Was he filling up at the end, and they had a drain?
Yeah. Well, no, he didn't drain. He just passed away. He was on dialysis, and he stopped going. And
okay. What about your mom? Was she filling up with fluid? Because I feel like somebody specifically was filling up with fluid and they had to keep draining the fluid?
I think it was my mother. When she went into the hospital with double pneumonia and a viral infection, and then she, it was the weirdest thing with her because she would start getting better and then something else would happen and she would end up going into another situation. And all she could say was, I can't believe the whole thing, which is my mother's line. And it was 8 weeks of, just slowly things just breaking down for her. And then I actually believe she was gone when they called us and they just kept her heart going or her breathing
Right.
through a machine, but she was gone.
So what's the 5 with them? May or the 5th?
Oh, they're both born in May. My mother's the 18th. My father's the 11th.
Okay. So yeah, so they're with you. Very sure. It's so funny because they're kind of like coming in. This is really interesting. This might have been how they were in life. Probably is. They're like together, but separate. Like they're doing their own thing, but they're coming back together. Does that make sense to you? Like,
well, they did their own thing. Well, I'll just leave it that way. They didn't really come together all that much.
okay.
All
But-
right. I'm all set for the next segment.
Perfect. Okay.
Great. I'll count you in now if you're all ready.
I'm ready.
Great. In 5, 4, 3, 2.
Hello, everyone. Thank you for sticking around. I am having the best conversation with Lisa Salvatore. Lisa and I are talking about her business and how she works. She's an astrologer, an intuitive, a medium. She does tarot and spirit connection, which I guess would be a medium. Would that not be?
Yes.
Okay, another way of saying that. And she works with her clients with intuitive guidance, wellness coaching, Reiki. And if you don't know Reiki, it's an energy modality. And so Lisa and I are talking about how she gives divine guidance and how she helps and what she does. So welcome back, Lisa. But before we get back into our conversation, I want to say if you want to contact Lisa, Lisa's website is Lisa Salvatore, and that's LisaSalvatore.com. And you can write her at info@lisasalvatore.com. So check her out, check out what she does, because you're just going to be so overwhelmed in the most positive, wonderful way. And you're going to want to reach out to Lisa. I promise you that. So you're welcome. So we've got charity shout out time, which is one of my favorite times. And your charity is Leukemia Lymphoma Society.
Yes.
So tell us about why it's so near and dear to you.
So for about 3 years, I've been wanting to get involved with a charity that really speaks to my heart. And I was a part of Make-A-Wish here and there. I would, did a lot of donating, but it just didn't, when you just know, you're like, okay, this isn't the one.
It's run its course.
Back in June, my sweet niece, my sister's daughter, was diagnosed with leukemia, ALL. She's doing okay. She's going through, hopefully the harder part of her treatment at this point. And, I've been wanting to get involved somehow even stronger now, but I'm, with everything that she's been going through, and I've been here witnessing it all. And it's a lot more than unless you've experienced it, it's a lot more than what people would imagine. So a friend of my sister's got involved and we started talking, and the light went off and I said, I want to be a part of this. And so cue in Leukemia Lymphoma Society, and here I am. So
they, to reach out to the Leukemia Lymphoma Society, that's a bit of a tongue twister, I have to say. It is,
I know, and I keep, I'm having a hard time saying it myself.
So it's lls.org. Reach out to them, check out their website, see what they do, and see where they need help. Because yes, we can always use to send money, but there might be some other ways you can help as well. So check them out. I'm sure there's one in every city or every state, and see where your assistance can be had.
Thank you.
Oh, my pleasure. So let's continue talking. I'm just loving our conversation so much. So let's talk about tarot cards, and what's the big misconception about divination tools?
That they're the devil, first of all.
Well, that's religion.
Right. But also that they open portals to negativity. I've heard that one a lot. A lot of people are afraid of using cards or any divination tool because they're going to open up to negative entities or negative energy. But I believe that we can do that without even any tools, to be honest.
Well,
right?
Anytime you lose your temper, you blow a portal.
Yeah. I am a big believer of intention being everything. And of course, there are some times where it can leak through and something negative comes through, or whatever have you happens. But I really do believe in intention. Tarot cards are really a tool for awareness. That's what I would say. They tap into, I mean, if you really go into the mythology of tarot, it is not necessarily a divination tool. So, I mean, Carl Jung, the Swiss psychoanalyst, who was brilliant, he used the archetypes from the tarot and astrology to help his patients. And they were, I mean, I've had clients tell me that a tarot session or an astrology session has been more helpful for them in some cases than traditional therapy. I'm a big believer though in traditional therapy. I'm not knocking that. I feel like everybody should.
There's a place for everything.
Exactly.
But sometimes you hit a brick wall doing talk therapy,
Yeah.
and you need something else to either give you a different insight or a catalyst to something else.
Right.
And
yeah, go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, I was just going to say, we're both on the same page with that. And it's just really important because, you know, like the only thing that I heard that I would, unless you really know what you're doing, because I did speak to somebody who was a Ouijaologist, and she was a professional Ouija board
Oh no, I don't mess with
worker. But that's what I was going to say. The Ouija board, under no circumstances, I do not suggest playing with it. If you don't know what you're doing, if you don't really know what you're doing, stay away, because it really, I mean, from what my experience has been, you can really do some damaging things.
Yeah, it's of my belief that if a spirit wants to communicate with you, they'll do it through their own channel. And I feel like the Ouija board can bring in energies that are hanging around for lower level reasons. And you can bring that in and open that up. I wouldn't mess with it. I don't, to be honest. So that's just my opinion, my belief.
Well, when we go offline, I'll tell you a story about a client who, at a young age, a friend brought over a Ouija board and what happened to him.
Oh,
I mean,
boy.
the outcome is fine. The outcome ended up being fine, but it did open a portal. It did cause a lot of havoc in his life. But the good news is he's living a great life now. So that's the most important thing.
So I will share a story.
Okay, please do.
About, it's got a couple of different messages. One is always trust your intuition. When you get that niggling feeling that no, and you can't make it logical, don't try. Just trust that, how you feel in your body. The body is our GPS. It's going to let us know when something's right or wrong for us. It doesn't fail us. It fails us when we don't listen. That's when it fails us, right?
Yep.
So I remember about 4 or 5 years ago, doing a ghost tour down in Virginia. It was really cool. And somebody there that I had met through the ghost tour, who does this work, wanted to have me on a podcast. And I felt like, no, something inside of me was like, no. And I don't know why, because she seemed very nice. And I had no reason to get that feeling, except I just kept getting that guidance of no, don't do it. Anyways, months passed by and we were not in contact, and I forgot all about it. And then she contacted me again. And I politely said, she said, I wanted you to come in and talk about ghost hunting. And I said, well, I don't do that. So I can't give you that because that's not what I do. And I was explaining to her the way that I work. And she said, well, okay, we'll have you on anyway. And then we'll just talk about paranormal phenomenon. And again, I had that feeling. And so I declined it, and she was very persistent. And finally I'm like, all right, I'll just do it. And I will never forget this. The day I did the podcast with her, I looked out my window and I saw a huge hawk sitting right on my fence staring at me. And I just knew, I was like, I should have listened and I should not have done this podcast, but I did it anyway. That night, and I've never had this happen before, and it has not happened again, thank God. But I had a experience where I was wide awake. And of course it happened to be when my husband was out of town. So it was not like I had anybody there to help me here. So I was awoken by a spirit that was trying to hurt me. And I felt it happening. And I know this sounds crazy, but I didn't believe in this either, to be honest. I felt it happening. And I'm like, I'm awake. I'm actually awake, and I'm experiencing some form of energy trying to attack me. I woke up and I turned on all the lights and I freaked out. I didn't sleep for like 3 nights. And then I realized, why am I freaking out? I have more power here than this entity. And I did some rituals and got rid of it. And I promised myself to never not trust my intuition again. and that evil does exist, unfortunately, and it carries over
does.
into the spirit world. So you have to trust that inner guidance.
Absolutely. And here's one thing that I've learned, that if you feel that your home or place of business, wherever you spend time, has this negative energy or this evil energy, whatever you want to call it, negative, if you just say if you're not benevolent, you need to leave now, you're not welcome here, that it's you, they can't stay.
Yeah.
Your beliefs on that.
Well, I think that what I've learned is that they thrive off of fear, lower level entities. So if you're feeding into it and you're scared, they'll ramp it up.
Mm-hmm.
But if you're more, authoritative about it, like get out, nothing can touch me, leave me, they usually will. They'll move on.
I actually saw that saying above someone's doorway, like at the front door going out. It said, if you're not benevolent, if your energy is not benevolent, you're not welcome here, leave. And it just stayed there. And it was just, obviously there was something that went on that made them know that somebody told them to do this and they did it, and they painted it. They had it, stenciled on their wall.
Yeah. Wow.
Which is really powerful. So we only have a few minutes left. What would you like to share that I have not touched upon, for whether it be about your business, your beliefs, how you work with clients, whatever it might be, anything you want to promote?
We're all spiritual beings. Okay. We all have a path and a purpose, and we all have a calling, a higher calling, whether we know that or not. And oftentimes we just get so ego driven into, the three-dimensional reality of what we have to do and but we neglect the soul. And so it's the one thing I would share is just make sure you check in with your soul. Ask yourself, when I say check in with your soul, how do you feel? Like, are you sure you're giving your all to whomever or whatever, but how do you feel? How do you really feel? What's the condition of your own soul? Because when soul is neglected, it does come out as disease, or it could come out as disease, and you don't want that to happen. So you always want to make sure you're checking in with yourself and being honest with yourself. Easier said than done, but the growth that happens there is tremendous.
I agree.
And don't be am I allowed to say?
Yeah, you can say whatever you want.
I was going to say, don't be a shitty person. That's something I want to say. Just really try your hardest not to be a shitty person.
Kindness.
Sounds so silly, but kindness. Yeah, exactly. And it's hard sometimes because people push their buttons, right? We have to remember to stay in love. And that's another thing. I don't believe spirituality is simply about being true to your own spirit. That is all that word means. It's not about how many times a day do you do yoga? How many times do you meditate? Do you pray? Do you eat meat? Do you not? None of that matters. If you're being true and authentic to yourself, that's spirituality. That's where it comes in. That's it. There's nothing more to it than that.
Can I add another layer to that? Is that I love that as the base, but also living your life with love and kindness and gratitude. Those three things. I mean, if you incorporate love, kindness, and gratitude into your daily everything, you'd see the world just change around you.
Yeah, it's true. It's true.
The next time that person cuts you off, tell them you love them.
Right. That's funny. One time that happened, I did cut somebody off and he gave me the finger, and I just turned around and I just went, and I just waved and he didn't know what to do. He was like, it was kind of funny, actually.
That is funny. Lisa, I am so grateful to have you on the show. I can't believe this time is up. We have had so much fun. I've had so much fun.
Too. I did too.
We'll have to bring you on because I know there's so much more going on. And are you writing a book?
Yes, that's my plan. I am working on a couple of different projects. Yes.
I'm feeling a book. I'm feeling a book in your future. So
those astrology buffs, Saturn just moved into my 9th house for the next 2.5 years. So yes, I will be doing some more with that. So I'm excited.
Well, I'm so excited. We'll just have to have you back again and talk about what you're doing in 2021 and where your book is at, how far along it is. And we can move from there. So thank you so much for being a part of the show today.
Thank you.
I want to thank everyone at Voice America for helping me put the show on each and every week. They are amazing people and they're so patient and tolerant with me. So thank you. Bridget, right hand, left hand, what would I do without you? Thank you so much. Bridget's my assistant for those who don't know.
Mm-hmm.
And I want to thank you, the listening audience, for taking the time out of your day, out of your life to participate in this podcast. I want to remind you to please check out Lisa Salvatore at lisasalvatore.com. And if you want to write to her, info@lisasalvatore.com. And I'm sure you will be absolutely thrilled with the information you'll receive from her, because I, I intuitively, I just know how powerful she is and how much she can help. I'm also going to end this. COVID is still out there. The vaccination is here. People are getting vaccinated, but it's still contagious. So let's bring the numbers down. Let's be socially considerate with each other. Let's wear our masks, keep our distance, keep our hands clean. And if you should run into somebody in a market or in a store, move to the end of the aisle so people don't have to walk through your spittle. I know that's a sound.
That should be all the time, not just COVID.
It should be all the time. It's not all the time, but
I know.
Anyway, until next week, as always, I send you love. I send you blessings. I send you gratitude. Know you're loved, and you are so important to me in my life. So thank you. Stay well.
Bye.